Yeah, good. How are you?
Okay, so a couple things to add. The Browns currently do have a 16-game losing streak in Pittsburgh. Also, something to add, Odell Beckham Jr. was sent home yesterday from practice. He wasn't feeling great. It was just a safeguard.
16-game losing streak.
16 games, that's it. But he has since tested negative for COVID-19, so he should be good to go on Sunday. So, Max, let me start with you here.
So yeah, a 16-game losing streak. That's what the Cleveland Browns are facing when they come to Pittsburgh because, of course, the Browns have been pretty terrible for a number of years, especially they've been terrible when they come to Heinz Field. Even in games when they're close, when they come to Heinz Field, they still lose them. So that's what we're dealing with here, a 16-game losing streak for them, but I got to be honest with you, I'm scared about this game. I really am because the more I think about it, the Browns this year actually do not look that bad. And that's the scariest thing that I can say about this entire year. Like, everything that's been going around, like coronavirus, yeah, that's scary enough. Everything else that's been going on this year. But the Browns being a good team this year, that's the scariest thing ever. That's just pure 2020 right now. But can't beat the record, 4-1. I mean, to be fair, the Browns haven't really played that many great teams this year. I think the best team they played this year was the Colts. And that was last week. But even then, they put up a good performance against the Colts. They really got to Phillip Rivers and that team that was supposed to be really good. The Colts defense was one of the best leading up to that game. But yeah, that was the best game that was the best game that I've seen from them. And they actually played a fairly good team. And now they come here to play the Steelers, who are undefeated at 4-0. And the Steelers are trying to go to 5-0, and that's the first time. And if they do that, that'll be the first time since '78 when they won their third Super Bowl. But this is going to be a tough one. This is going to be a really tough one. Even though the Browns are a little banged up, everyone that's on that injury report is supposedly set to play, except for a couple of key players. But I think Ronnie Harrison, Wyatt Teller. I'm trying to remember who else. I can't remember who else they're with there, but for the good news is the Steelers are coming in here mostly unscathed. I think they're going to be without David DeCastro or Deontay Johnson in this game, but they've done pretty well without them. I mean, Ray-Ray McCloud was decent last week, and Chase Claypool had that monster game last week. This is going to be an interesting one. I still think the Steelers will win this one. I still think that they can beat them. It's going to be much tougher than I think a lot of people are expecting it to be, but I really don't see the Browns coming in here and winning this game. I see them coming close. I see them actually playing more of a complete game with them. And that's just my thinking right now. I think the Browns will come in here with a fight. I think they'll come in here ready to take on the Steelers. But in the end, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers will come out of this game and go 5-0. I don't think they will lose this game. I think they'll probably lose the next two games against the Titans and the Ravens, but I don't think they'll lose this game. That's my thinking right now. But as always, we got to see what happens. So I'm hoping the Steelers can somehow pull out a win over the Browns. I'm pretty sure they will, but this year's already been strange enough. So we'll go ahead and see what happens.
Check out the FanDuel Sportsbook app or website for the most up-to-date odds.
Time now to beat the bus, and Jerome, you said you would make a slow and steady comeback, and so far you're living up to your word. You did indeed gain another game on me this week. I'm now sitting with 15 games picked correctly, just one game ahead of you. Let's get it started with the big game of the week, the Steelers and the Browns.
Well, I'm going with the Steelers to win this football game. Obviously, it's going to be a tough one. The Browns, they've shown that they are a really good football team this season, but I'm still going with the Steelers to win this game at home. This
one definitely one of the tougher ones to pick. Turning to all of our picks, we're all taking the Steelers, though, to stay undefeated and to beat the Cleveland Browns. The FanDuel Sportsbook line, as of this show taping, is Steelers by 3.5. The Ravens at the Eagles. Baltimore, a heavy 7.5-point favorite on the road. We're all picking the Ravens to win this game. The Bengals at the Colts. The Colts, a huge favorite by 8 points. Once again, all on the same page here. We're all picking Indy to win. And the Rams at the 49ers. The Rams favored by 3. And we're all going with the Rams? We're all on the same page this week. Remember to check sportsbook.fanduel.com for up-to-the-minute betting lines. No differences in the peaks this week, so, hey, at least for another week, Jerome, I will still be in first place.
Here are today's Pepsi Picks, brought to you by Pepsi, the official soft drink of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right, it's always fun to get to this. Prediction time. Rich, you first.
All right, I like the Steelers winning this one 34-24. I think the Steelers offense will score in the 30s. I think the defense, Bud and Watt, will keep Mayfield in check. And I think they'll keep the Browns offense to 24 points or less. So I like the Steelers to win by 10.
Mr. Batch.
The Browns coming here with the #1 rushing attack. This is going to be a challenge for the Steelers defense. I think they do hold up. Steelers win 31-27 today.
All right, I think it's going to be the same from Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. He also takes the Steelers 28-24. I will join that crowd, so we got to force them here. 34-23, I think we all expect a lot of points. As far as our players to watch today, that's always something that you should keep an eye on. And when you take a look at some of the players to watch, you can see that Rich thinks it's going to be Joe Hayden. Hyson Alualu, who's had a really good underrated season for Charlie. Ben Roethlisberger for Jerry Dulac. I like Devin Bush. I think he's going to make a lot of plays and will create a turnover today.
About a half hour away, it's time to set the scene at your game as we take you out first on the field, presented by Pepsi, for the latest news and updates on your matchup.
Jim Nance, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson, happy to be on site here in the Steel City for a big one. Both teams riding 4-game win streaks. And when you look at the Steelers, Tony, the way Roethlisberger has rebounded from last year, the reconstruction of the elbow, it's been impressive.
It's been very impressive. I see him getting the ball out of his hands quickly. He's getting it to his playmakers. For so many years, they relied on Ben to move around and make the play. Now he's getting it out and letting these guys go do the work.
He's got a new playmaker. Chase Claypool, no secret, no longer after 4 touchdowns last week. What a steal he was in the second round.
Steele, you are 100% correct. In years from now, they're going to be, how did we let this guy slip to the second round? He is an emerging superstar. His potential, limitless, Jim.
And the Steelers defense, same old scheme, same old pressure on the opposing quarterback.
Only 25 years in a row, it feels like. But this is T.J. Watt, this front seven. They have a great challenge ahead of them today. This unit in Cleveland, that front, it's for real. Might be the best in the NFL.
They're going to need to protect Baker because of the sore ribs. What do you expect he'll be able to do today?
I think we're going to find out early in the game. When you have sore ribs, you're going to go out there and try and throw. When you get hit, you're like, oh, I'm okay. I think I can do this. And it just gets easier. Or you get hit and you're like, oh, this is going to be a hard day. But I think we'll be able to see it.
Well, Beckham missed a couple of days of practice. He was ill, but he looks like he's ready to go.
He is, and he's off to a great start this year. When I watch the way Stefanski is using him, moving him around, using all of his skill set, I think you're going to see him have a great year. And I think that's always a good thing when he's happy.
Look, during the game, we'll get a little bit deeper into the Myles Garrett story, what happened last year in the game against Pittsburgh, that ugly incident. But this is one of the stars of the league. And listen, he says he's coming in peace and ready to make some plays.
Well, I think he's been making plays. I think he's off to a great start to this season as well as his whole career. But today, he's got to show up big time. Ben Roethlisberger has a lot of weapons. He's the way to slow him down.
Tony, I'm looking forward to this one.
I know you are.
I can't wait to see it. Coming up on the NFL Today, more on Chase Claypool as the NFL Today continues after this.
If not, they have it 2 seconds, they throw it out there.
Good point. I think it's a gamble we're taking when you're down 24.
All right, so it's more lopsided than I think we would have thought. 24-7, Steelers with the lead. Steelers got to Baker Mayfield pretty quickly. Of course, Baker Mayfield suffering with a rib injury. There's some other key injuries on both sides of the field for the Browns. It was 24-0 until the 2-minute warning, and then Devin Bush went out, and then all of a sudden the Browns started getting going, scored the touchdown, and now it's 24-7. I would gloat, but I'm a jinxing type of person. I feel like if I say something, I jinx the team, I jinx somebody, and then something bad eventually happens, so I'm not going to say anything. Even though the Steelers have a comfortable lead. You can't do that with this type of situation. I've seen this way too many times where one team outplays another in the first half, and then all of a sudden the second half, the other team that's losing comes back and wins it. I already saw it happen once with the Steelers in person when they played the Chargers. Steelers were up 24-7, and then the Chargers ended up winning 33-30. So yeah, I'm gonna keep my expectations lowered. I'm going to hope the Steelers come back in the second half and finish them. Not even come back. I'm going to think that the Steelers won't play conservative. They won't give the Browns a chance to get back in the game. But we will see what happens. Hopefully, by the next time I see you guys, the Steelers will have avoided the Cleveland comeback. So, let's go ahead and see what happens.
That's a big deal on the stats.
I don't know what Mike Tomlin told his team, but he said to the media this week, we like being in the kitchen. And in the AFC North ball is being in the kitchen, and it's hot in the kitchen. And well, they cooked up quite a performance here today. 5-0 for the first time since 1978. That team won its first 7 on its way to winning the Super Bowl.
Starting to take shape. You see the adjustments teams are making as the season rolls along. Cleveland's going to now have to go back and make theirs.
It's interesting, the path for Tomlin to the head coaching ranks. So got some similarities with Stefanski. They were, in fact, at Minnesota together. Wait for it. Of course, later this season, they'll get a crack at both of those division opponents at home. New England next week. 38-7 the final. Now, let's go to JB in New York.
Yeah, I was a little peeved there at the end because the CBS scoreboard cut before the final season rankings came up, and they cut back to the Houston-Tennessee game, which that was a very good game too, and I'll get to the Titans in just a moment, but kudos to the Steelers, man. They really impressed me. I was a little worried coming into the second half. I thought when Cleveland scored the touchdown, the momentum was going to shift to them, but they shut them down. They shut them the F down, and they knocked Baker Mayfield out of the game quite literally. Case Keenum came in the final quarter. And, I mean, everybody came to play today. And I got to give the Steelers a lot of credit for that. I was a little worried. I thought they were going to win, but I thought it was going to be much closer than I think a lot of people did. Actually, not even that. I think a lot of people really thought it was going to be much closer. But, I mean, this game doesn't really say a whole lot about the Browns. I just think they got outplayed today by a really good team. I think the next 3 weeks for the Steelers is going to really depend on where they could go for the rest of the season. Like, if for some miraculous reason they somehow get to 8-0, which I doubt that'll happen, and beat Tennessee, they beat Baltimore, and then they beat Dallas, that's going to be really saying a lot about what they can do. And I think a lot of teams will have to take them more seriously now, and a lot of NFL media will take them a lot more seriously. But next week's going to be their first real challenge because they got to play the Tennessee Titans. They got to find a way to stop Derrick Henry, which is hard to do, especially if you just saw what he did with the overtime game winner. And should be a very interesting game. It's going to be a battle with the undefeateds next week. Steelers at Titans, assuming that it actually gets played and there's not another outbreak. But Steelers are 5-0. They haven't been 5-0 since '78, and things are going pretty good right now. So enjoy it while it lasts, and we'll see what happens next week when they play the Titans.